Capricorn, take a breath, because the energy around you tonight is shifting, quietly, powerfully, almost as if the universe has been waiting for this exact moment to speak to you. You've been doing the work. You've been holding yourself together. You've been choosing peace over chaos, even when life tried to pull you into storms that were never yours. And now, something, or someone, has entered your energetic field. A presence that looks shiny, polished, perfect. But your intuition, it's whispering, don't look at the surface. Look deeper. Before we go any further, drop a comment saying, I am open to the truth. Let the universe see your intention rise. Because what you're about to hear will explain why your soul has been feeling alert lately, and it will lead you straight into a much bigger story unfolding for you now. Capricorn, let me sit with you for a moment. Just you and me. No noise, no pressure, just the sound of your breath settling into your chest. You've been moving differently lately, more intentional, more grounded, like someone who finally understands that peace is not something you wait for. It's something you build with your own two hands. And I know you've been tired, not the kind of tired a night's sleep solves, the kind that comes from carrying yourself through storms that no one else ever saw, the kind that shapes you quietly, until one day you wake up and realize you're no longer the same person you were a year ago, or even a month ago. There's a steadiness inside you now, a quiet knowing, a strength that doesn't shout but still fills the whole room. It's the kind of strength that only forms when you've been dropped, cracked, repaired, and somehow still found a way to rise with grace. You've learned how to hold your boundaries without raising your voice. You've learned how to say no without guilt. You've learned the value of your own time, your own mind, your own heart. And I want you to notice something: how people react to your peace, how certain energies from your past try to pull you back into a version of yourself you've already outgrown. But you don't fall for it anymore. You've become hard to provoke, hard to shake, hard to manipulate. That's not coldness, that's maturity. That's the quiet power of someone who has finally chosen themselves. You've stepped into a chapter where your focus is sharper, where you organize your days not out of pressure, but out of purpose, where you think about your future not with fear, but with clarity. You can feel it, can't you? This shift inside your body, this sense that life is no longer happening to you, it's responding to you. Capricorn, you're not the old you anymore, the one who tolerated too much, gave too much, explained too much. Something inside you has hardened in the right places and softened in the right places. A perfect balance, a quiet evolution you rarely get credit for. And that evolution is why what comes next will feel so different. Why certain people won't be able to reach you the way they once did. Why their words no longer cut. Why their drama no longer sticks to your skin. You've built a kind of inner sanctuary. And even on your heavy days, you're not collapsing the way you used to. You breathe differently, think differently, move differently. And because of that, life is about to show you something. Something that will test your intuition, but also prove how far you've come. There's a presence circling your energy, a person who looks bright from a distance, but something about them doesn't sit right in your spirit. You feel it, even if you can't explain it yet. Stay with that feeling for a moment. Let it settle, because it's the first whisper of a truth that's preparing to reveal itself to you in a way you won't forget. Capricorn, there's something I want to share with you, something that feels like it's been moving toward you quietly, almost like a shadow pacing behind soft light. You may not have words for it yet, but I know you felt it. That subtle shift in the air when someone new brushes against the edge of your world. It often starts small, a name, a message, a perfectly crafted introduction that seems almost too timed, too polished, too sweet to question. And for a moment, you think, maybe this is good, maybe this is safe, but then your body speaks before your mind does, and your intuition, that old wise friend of yours, begins to whisper, slow down, look again. Do you feel that? It's strange how a person can present themselves like a bright picture in a glossy frame, smooth edges, clean lines, everything placed just right, as if they studied what you dream of and decided to mirror it back to you. Success, confidence, charm, a life that seems shiny enough to lean toward, but something in you pulls back, doesn't it? Not out of fear, out of knowing. A soft knowing that lives in the center of your chest, nudging you the way a hand might touch your shoulder in the dark. That tiny pause you feel is not insecurity, it's wisdom. You've lived long enough, grown enough, endured enough to recognize when energy doesn't match its own story. And this presence, this person drifting into your orbit, carries a shimmer that doesn't feel like light, more like a reflection of something they want you to see. A crafted version of themselves, held up like a mask, polished just enough to be convincing. It's interesting, isn't it? How people will show you the part of them they hope you fall for, the curated version. The one drenched in confidence and opportunity and all the right words at all the right times. But when you sit with the feeling, when you tilt your head just slightly and listen with your spirit instead of your mind, something doesn't land. And you can't ignore that. Not anymore. Because you're not someone who is easily impressed by performance, not someone who is swept off their feet by shiny distractions. Your soul has been trained by experience. It recognizes honesty without needing proof, and it senses distortion long before anything cracks on the surface. So you pause, you observe, you let them talk, you watch the small inconsistencies gather like dust in the corners of their story. You feel the disconnect between what they claim and what your intuition shows you. And that sensation, that quiet tug in your gut, is not paranoia. It's protection. It's the universe leaning in, saying, pay attention. Not because you need to be afraid, but because what stands in front of you is not what it appears to be. And as you sit with that awareness, as the truth begins to breathe through the spaces they can't control, something inside you shifts again, gently opening a door to what you are finally ready to see and even more ready to understand. Capricorn, there's something I need you to hear, and I want you to hear it gently. Not with fear, not with suspicion, but with that quiet clarity you carry in your chest when the night is still and the world isn't asking anything of you. You've crossed paths with someone who isn't standing in their truth, and maybe you already felt it before you could name it, that subtle disconnect, that strange echo in their words, like they were reading lines from a script they didn't write themselves. It's almost haunting how beautifully some people can paint their stories. The picture-perfect job, the perfect smile, the life that seems to sparkle at every angle, a life that feels almost designed to catch your attention, to hold it, to draw you in just close enough. But when you look closely, even for a moment, the shine doesn't feel warm. It feels hollow, like light bouncing off glass instead of skin, like a reflection made to distract you from the emptiness behind it. You sensed it, didn't you? That little pull in your intuition, the quiet tension under their charm, the way something felt slightly off, even when their words sounded right. And that's because what they were offering you wasn't themselves. It was a mask, a performance meant to appeal to what they thought you wanted, not what was real. They presented a life of abundance, while hiding the truth of their own instability. They pushed the image of confidence, while standing on shaky ground. They spoke about connection, while their heart wasn't open enough to offer one. You're not imagining any of this. This person has been trying to place themselves in your world in a way that benefits them more than it ever would you. Not because of love, not because of fate, but because they saw in you something steady, something grounded, something they thought they could lean on without earning it. I know that realization carries a sting, not because you fell for them, but because you hoped, just for a moment, that the universe was bringing you something genuine. And it hurts when something dressed as destiny turns out to be disguise. But listen closely. There is nothing naive about you, nothing foolish. You weren't tricked. You were observant, present, awake. You saw the cracks faster than they ever expected you to. And that is what matters. Your spirit recognized the truth long before any evidence showed up on the surface. Your inner compass pulled you back before any real harm could reach you. And maybe that's the part I need you to hold on to right now. The truth didn't come to expose you. It came to protect you. Because as their mask begins to slip, as the pieces of their story stop holding together, something else begins to rise within you. A strength that has nothing to do with resistance, and everything to do with recognition. And once you see clearly, once the veil falls away, your heart starts preparing itself for something far more honest, far more aligned, far more meant for who you are becoming. Capricorn, there's something remarkable about the way you see through people. Not because you're suspicious, not because you expect the worst, but because your spirit has learned to listen between the lines, to feel the truth before it's spoken, to sense when someone's energy doesn't match the story they're selling. And with this person, you felt the mismatch almost immediately, didn't you? That little shift in your stomach, that tightening in the air around their words, the way something inside you leaned back while your mind was still trying to lean forward. It's a strange experience, watching a mask slip in slow motion. They keep talking, keep smiling, keep weaving their perfect little narrative, but the more they speak, the more you feel the ground under them crumble. Their details start to drift, their timeline blurs. Their confidence feels performed instead of lived, like they memorized lines from a life they never actually lived. You don't have to accuse them. You don't have to raise your voice. Just a quiet question from you, a gentle tilt of your head, and the illusion begins to tremble. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't need to shout. It reveals itself in the softest moments, in inconsistencies too small for the untrained eye to catch, but not too small for you, never too small for you. You ask something simple, something direct, something honest, and suddenly the light in their eyes shifts. Not because you were harsh, but because they realize you're not someone who can be fooled. You've always had that gift, Capricorn, the ability to look at someone and see the part they tried to hide. And maybe you don't talk about it often, maybe you play it down, but it's real and it's powerful. And right now, it's protecting you from stepping into a story that was never meant for your heart. As you listen to them stumble through explanations that don't land, as you watch them scramble to keep their image clean, something inside you becomes incredibly still. A quiet knowing settles in your chest, almost like a hand resting there. This isn't real. This isn't aligned. This isn't what your soul has been calling in. And the moment you speak the truth out loud, even softly, they feel it, that their performance has ended, that the room has shifted, that you see them more clearly than they ever wanted anyone to. There's a certain power in that. Not the kind that dominates, not the kind that threatens, but the kind that stands firm in the light while someone else is still fumbling in their shadows. And as their facade begins to fall apart quietly, piece by piece, you feel something else rise inside you, a strength wrapped in calm, a clarity that comes from finally recognizing what your intuition was trying to tell you all along. And in that calmness, in that steady breath you take as the truth settles, a new understanding begins to open before you, soft and undeniable, drawing you into a deeper part of your own journey without you even noticing the shift. Capricorn, I want you to breathe with me here, just for a moment. Because what happens next in this story isn't loud. It isn't dramatic in the way movies make conflict look. It's quieter than that. More revealing, like a flicker of light catching a face that didn't expect to be seen so clearly. When you spoke your truth, even gently, even calmly, you felt the air around them shift, that little tightening, that sudden heaviness, almost as if their carefully built facade cracked right at the center. You didn't accuse, you didn't attack, you simply held up a mirror, and the moment their own reflection met them, they panicked. Not because you were cruel, but because you were right. There's a particular kind of anger that rises in someone who's been exposed before they had the chance to take what they came for. It's sharp, quick, unsettled, a mixture of fear and frustration twisting together in their chest. You saw it, didn't you? That flash in their eyes, not hurt, not confusion, but disappointment that their plan slipped through their fingers, because that's what it was for them. A plan, a route out of their own discomfort, a doorway they hoped you would hold open long enough for them to step through without offering anything real in return. They needed your steadiness, your grounding, your warmth. They thought they could tap into it the way someone taps into a power source they never intended to repay. But they didn't understand you. Not truly. They didn't understand that you don't offer your loyalty lightly. You don't give your energy to someone who hasn't shown they can hold it with care. And you don't ignore the voice in your chest that whispers, "This isn't safe. This isn't true." So, when you ask the questions they didn't prepare for, when you didn't melt at their charm, when you didn't slip under the illusion they tried so hard to maintain, they felt that loss instantly. It's strange how someone can be the one behaving deceptively and still feel offended when their illusion collapses. But That's what happens when a person believes more in their mask than in their honesty. They cling to the performance as if it's their only identity. And when the performance fails, they lash out at the nearest thing that sees them clearly. You didn't rage. You didn't match their tone. You simply stood in your truth. And your truth was stronger than anything they constructed. In that moment, you didn't just recognize them. You recognized yourself, your growth, your intuition, your refusal to shrink just because someone else expected you to. And the interesting thing about truth is, once it's spoken, once it's felt, once it lands between two people, the energy can no longer pretend, the mask can no longer hold, and you can no longer unsee what was shown to you. But there is something beautiful about this too, Capricorn, because what rises in you after the illusion breaks is not bitterness, not regret, but a new sense of alignment that begins guiding you towards something far more honest and far more meant for you, drawing you forward without you even realizing your footsteps have already begun to shift. Capricorn, you know that moment when the truth settles in your body before your mind fully accepts it? That stillness, that quiet, almost sacred pause where everything inside you rearranges itself. You felt that, didn't you? The instant you realized this person wasn't who they pretended to be, something in you snapped into alignment, not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of a deep instinctive knowing that you deserve more than confusion, more than half-truths, more than someone treating your heart like a temporary place to rest. You didn't need to argue. You didn't need to explain. Your spirit had already made the decision long before the words reached your lips. A clean break, a quiet exit, a door closing with the soft finality of someone who knows their worth. And the beauty in that, Capricorn, is how natural it felt. No tug of war, no lingering doubt. Just a calm understanding that the cycle you've repeated in the past ends here. You've spent years learning the difference between effort and begging, between giving and losing yourself, between compassion and self-sacrifice. And somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, you built a boundary that finally holds. A boundary shaped not from fear, but from love. Love for yourself, love for your peace, love for the version of you that refuses to shrink so someone else can feel bigger. You didn't slam the door. You simply walked through it and let it close behind you. Because you're not interested in repairing connections that were never real. You're not bending anymore just to make someone else comfortable. You're not dimming your intuition for the sake of illusion. It's powerful, isn't it? The moment you stop choosing potential and start choosing truth. The moment you stop apologizing for your clarity. The moment you no longer accept the bare minimum dressed up as effort. You're stepping into a kind of emotional adulthood that many people never reach. One where peace is not negotiable, where your energy is protected with intention, where anyone who wants access to your world must earn it through consistency, honesty, presence. There's something incredibly liberating about that, about knowing you can say no without guilt, walk away without explanation, protect your heart without feeling cold or guarded, because this isn't you shutting down. This is you opening up to the right things by finally closing the door on the wrong ones. And even though the ending may feel sharp, the clarity feels soft, doesn't it? Almost like a breath you didn't know you were holding has finally left your body. A release, a reset, a quiet promise to yourself that you will never again accept a connection that requires you to abandon who you are. And as you stand in that promise, as you let the dust settle around the truth you've chosen, life begins to shift in response to you. Something new starts moving toward you, slow and steady, like dawn gathering itself on the horizon, ready to show you why walking away was the most powerful beginning you could have written. Capricorn. There's a quiet moment after a difficult ending, when everything inside you pauses, not in sadness, not in fear, but in a kind of sacred waiting. A space the universe creates when it's preparing to bring something better into your life. You've been standing in that space, maybe without even knowing it. A space cleared by truth, a space widened by clarity, a space where the old stories can no longer reach you. And it's in that open, honest silence that someone new begins to move toward you. What's different about this person is subtle at first, not flashy, not exaggerated. Their presence doesn't push, it simply arrives, like a warm light at the edge of a long hallway, soft, steady, unforced. You'll notice the way they speak, how their words don't try to impress you, how their energy feels calm instead of chaotic. There's a groundedness in them, a sense of someone who has lived, really lived, and learned enough from their own wounds to never weaponize them against anyone else. They're not perfect, but they're real, and you'll feel that difference immediately. They won't hide the fact that they've been hurt before, but they won't make you carry that history. They won't put you in the shadow of someone else's mistakes. They won't punish you for the past they survived. Instead, they'll show you what they learned, how they healed, how they grew, how they stayed open even when. Closing off would have been easier. There is a kind of maturity in them that you've been craving without saying it out loud, a softness that knows when to step forward, and a strength that knows when to step back. You'll notice how they listen, how they make space for you without needing to fill it with performance, how they don't need to convince you of who they are, because they're already living it. You may find yourself relaxing in ways you didn't expect, breathing a little deeper, trusting a little easier, not because you're naive, but because your soul recognizes something familiar in theirs, something honest, something clean, something aligned. And as you take them in, as you watch the way they move through conversations, through silence, through the small moments that reveal character more than words ever could, a thought will rise in you without effort. This feels different. This feels safe. This feels true. It's not a rush. It's not a spark that burns too fast. It's a warmth, a slow, steady unfolding that feels like it was always meant to find you when you were finally ready to receive it. And maybe that's the real magic of this connection, Capricorn. Not that they show up, but that you are finally in a place where you can see them clearly, where your heart is open enough to welcome what is real and closed enough to reject what is false. And as this presence moves closer, with a gentleness that respects everything you've become, you begin to feel something shift again, softly, deep inside the place where your hope lives, inviting you toward a future that no longer feels distant, but quietly, beautifully reachable. Capricorn. There's a moment right before something good enters your life when your heart feels both calm and alert at the same time, as if some quiet part of you already knows change is coming. And it's finally the kind that won't take anything from you. It'll give, it'll soften, it'll stay. That's the feeling that begins to rise in you when this new connection touches your world. Not a rush, not fireworks, just a deep, steady warmth in your chest. The kind of warmth that feels like recognition more than excitement. Like your soul leaning forward and whispering, "Oh, it's you." You'll feel safe with them in a way that doesn't require effort. Safe not because nothing could go wrong, but because nothing about them asks you to be less than who you are. They won't rush you. They won't push you. They won't fill the space with noise to impress you. Instead, they'll sit with you in a way that makes silence feel full of meaning, full of potential, full of something honest. Respect becomes the foundation long before love even enters the conversation. You'll notice it in the way they listen, in the way they speak to you without performance, in the way they remember things you didn't realize you said out loud. They meet you where you are, and they don't ask you to shrink, bend, or carry more than you should. For the first time in a long time, the future doesn't feel distant, or blurry, or fragile. It feels reachable. It feels like something you could walk toward without fear of losing yourself along the way. And maybe that's why your heart relaxes around them. Because they aren't trying to be a fantasy. They aren't trying to sell you an image. They're simply showing up as themselves and letting you see them in a way the other never could. There's a quiet intimacy in that, a sense of home that doesn't ask to be earned. It just arrives, softly, steadily, like a door you didn't know was open until you turned and saw the light slipping through. Deep down, you'll recognize that this is the kind of connection that could last. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it feels like the beginning of something that doesn't need to be rushed or forced. It unfolds at the pace of truth, at the pace of alignment, at the pace of two people who know that the right things don't demand urgency. They simply ask for presence. And somewhere within that understanding, a whisper from the universe settles into your chest, a whisper that feels like confirmation. You passed the test, you chose yourself, and now the right person is finally able to find you. So, take a breath here. Let the moment land. Let it soften your shoulders and loosen your guard. Because what's coming toward you isn't chaos, it's comfort. What's approaching isn't illusion, it's clarity. And the path opening beneath your feet, quiet, glowing, unwavering, is the one you were always meant to walk. Capricorn, before we close tonight, I want you to hear this, not with your ears, but with that quiet place inside you that's been waiting for a sign. You didn't just walk away from the wrong person. You walked toward yourself, toward your clarity, toward a future that finally matches the depth of your spirit. And maybe that's the real revelation here. The moment you trusted your intuition, the moment you refused to settle, the universe shifted, and something wiser, softer, truer began moving in your direction. You were never being protected from love. You were being protected for love. There's a difference, a beautiful one. So, if your heart feels lighter right now, if your breath feels easier, that's not an accident. That's alignment. That's your soul recognizing a door opening where another one closed. And Capricorn, you deserve what's coming, the honesty, the peace, the connection that doesn't tremble when you look too closely. Before you go, drop a comment saying, "I trust what's meant for me." Let the universe see you claim your own future. And if this message found you at the exact moment you needed it, make sure you're subscribed because your journey isn't ending here. Not even close. There is more unfolding for you. More clarity, more direction, more truths rising to meet you in the nights ahead. I'll be here when the next message arrives, ready to walk with you again through the light, through the mystery, and through every part of this beautiful unfolding that your soul has already begun. Until then, trust yourself. You're doing far better than you realize.